And we're live.
Okay, thank you, Cody. The meeting's not called to order. Chris, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Whitehall, here. Trustee Weezy. Trustee Davis.
Here.
Trustee Pandolfi, here. Trustee Lazio.
Here.
Trustee Lemon. Trustee Step. Trustee Wilson. Trustee Cook.
Here.
Trustee Burko.
Here.
Trustee Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Gray. Here.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who wish to join Michael, we'll lead some pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'm going to read you a couple verses from the book of James today. And it's chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Here's what it has to say. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking in anything. And so this is really one of my favorites. I love the book of James. And so I thought about the word persistence in my own life and what persistence has to do with living out life and working our jobs and working at the library and all the tasks that we've been committed to. And it takes some fortitude and persistence to actually to engage and do what we're called to do, right? Perform our jobs and everything. And so I'm going to read a particular definition of persistence. Says persistence is doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Anybody in here ever encounter delays and all that difficulties? Anybody inquire any difficulties living out your life, doing what you do, raising families, working your jobs, all that kind of stuff? That's constant, isn't it? I'm going to read another definition. It says continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. And so you're probably thinking maybe a few moments in your life where you faced failure, you faced opposition, you faced all kinds of challenges, and you still had to press in and persevere. And sometimes it might be prone to give up, like toss in the towel. Anybody? Yeah. And there's been so many situations where I felt like that in my own heart, but I knew if I didn't press through, that I would never reach the goal. I would never reach the prize. And so the thing that I take out of these particular passages, these verses, are really for us to engage with one another. We have to persevere in relationships, persevere in all these things, the tasks that we've been given that are jobs to fulfill those jobs, but we need to encourage one another along the way, right? I mean, a smile goes a long way, right? Somebody just gives you that kind smile, that kindness in their heart that's like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly what I needed. So I can just keep going, And little caveat, I met a guy yesterday who was 96 years old. He was a Marine veteran and he was only about this high. And it was below you. It was below you. I've never seen a man like this. Very few times in my life, if ever. Was on an honor flight in DC yesterday and met this guy, and I We just hung out during the whole entire day, but I learned something from this guy. He never rode in a wheelchair. He walked faster than I did at 96 years old. And I'm thinking, man, he was putting me to shame. And I just kept saying to myself, whatever that guy has, I want that. I want that. And I knew he had persevered in his life. He's, trials, tribulations. So I just submit that to you today is there's people around us that we know in this room, right? And your families and everything, they've fought through all kinds of things to even stand today. So just submit a short prayer if you'd like to join me. Father, we just thank you for your word. We thank you for the lessons of perseverance. Father, would you help us learn? Would you help us press on through when it looks like there's no way to do it? And we thank you for your grace and your mercy. Amen.
Thank you, Martin. The 2 hour agenda, on my motion, I move the approval of the agenda for a second
Second.
discussion.
Yeah, I would, since we have the auditors here and they're further down in the agenda, I would like to move them after visitor comments or before the finance and audit committee report. I don't know if that means moving this 10.2 or both 10.2 and 10.3. But that way they don't sit through the meeting.
Should not interfere with our auditors. We amend the motion to approve the agenda with the adjustment of moving the auditor's presentation to immediately following the section for visitors' comments, of which there are none. And is there a second?
I second.
Discussion? Tracy, please call the vote.
Trustee Whitehall. Trustee Peters.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi. Aye. Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Virgo.
yes,
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Gray. Aye.
Okay, now my motion, I move the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? Teresa, again, please.
Trustee Whitehall. Trustee Peters.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi. Aye. Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Virgo.
yes,
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
aye,
And Teresa, just to confirm, there are no visitors' comments.
Good evening. I'm Mark Stair with Hood and Associates. We're the audit firm that performed the annual audit of the Mid-Continent Public Library in association with Ralph C. Johnson, who's also here tonight. So we'll give you a little background on Hood and Associates first. Hood and Associates has been serving Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas since 1992. In our most recent peer review, we received the highest rating you can receive, which is a rating of pass with no comments. Our firm is a member of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the AICPA, and as well as the AICPA Government Audit Quality Center. And our firm is licensed in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. The key engagement members on this engagement are licensed in Missouri and Kansas, as well as a couple other states for my holdings. The scope of our audit was that we were engaged to perform an audit of the financial statements of the Consolidated Library District Number 3, known as the Mid-Continent Public Library, also known as the library, for the year ended June 30th, 2024. Our responsibilities in that audit were to conduct the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. This means that we plan to perform our audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance that the basic financial statements are free of material misstatement. Again, that's a very high level of assurance, but it is not 100%, so we do not guarantee that there aren't any. And they could exist even despite our audit. We are also under government auditing standards, going to present a report on the internal controls and compliance with finance-related laws and regulations. That is just to explain the scope of our test work in those areas, and we do not give an opinion on internal controls. The Auditing Standards Board of the AICPA recommends that we communicate the following matters to the governing board. The first is information about illegal acts. We're happy to report that no illegal acts came to our attention during the course of our audit procedures. The second is any changes in significant accounting policies. This year, there were not any changes to the significant accounting policies, and future pronouncements will be addressed later in the presentation. The third is difficulties with management, and again, we're happy to report that we did not have any difficulties with management or disagreements with management per the definition given in the standards. And finally, cooperation is the last thing we report to you on, and we're happy to report that we did receive full access to all the books and efforts that were requested. So we had no issues with cooperation. A financial and compliance audit addresses three basic questions. The first question is, are the basic financial statements free of material misstatement? The answer to that question is that we have issued an unmodified opinion that the library's financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. This is also known as a clean audit opinion. It is the highest level of assurance that we provide in our second question is, are internal controls over financial reporting adequately designed and operating effectively? That answer is that we did not identify any deficiencies related to internal control over financial reporting that were considered to be material weaknesses. We also did not identify any that were significant deficiencies that would be reported in the management letter that we have later on as well. Although there are some recommendations in the letter. Did the library comply in all material respects with the finance-related laws and regulations? And again, our testing disclosed no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. So as I alluded to earlier, we have a management letter this year, as always, and we have a few comments made in that management letter. The first is about financial policy and procedure review. With the exploration about a new accounting system, it's a good idea or a good time to remind everybody to take a look at the accounting policies and procedures that exist, and especially if you move forward with a new accounting system, to make sure that those policies and procedures get addressed to fit the new system as you're implementing that. So we included a comment about making sure you do that review. Not based on anything we found as far as lacking procedures, but based on kind of future events. The second comment that we made for the current year was about cybersecurity. This is a comment that we've been making in all of our reports lately, based on some of the high profile cyber events that I'm sure you're aware of, such as the city of Kansas City, Missouri, Liberty Hospital. So we've been including just a comment to make sure you guys are reviewing that regularly. The third one is, again, kind of related to looking for a new accounting system and changing some policies and procedures, but it's a good time to also make sure that you have key employees cross-trained to do other events, just so that Again, not necessarily proficient at it, but at least trained and knowledgeable in case somebody were to leave, it would minimize the effects of that departure. Future accounting pronouncements, this year we have 3. They are statements number 101 about compensated absences. Statement number 102 about risk disclosures. Both of those statements, we believe you have already fully complied with, so there won't be anything to change as those take effect. Number 101 takes effect next year, 102 the year after, I believe. And then statement number 103 is a financial reporting and excuse me, a financial reporting model improvement standard. That one, we will still have to evaluate, and that's our recommendation, is that you guys evaluate any changes needed to meet that one. It's not going to be implemented for a couple of years still. So we're just kind of putting it on the docket now to be thinking about it. As it gets closer, of course, we'll assist in any way that is needed. Again, I do want to stress that none of these issues were based on instances found within the library's audit. This is all based on other environmental issues or impact issues. With that, I can talk about the financial results. The library's assets and deferred outflows exceeded its liabilities and deferred inflows as of June 30th, 2024, resulting in a net position of $61 million. That's an increase of $4.7 million over the prior year, as revenues exceeded expenses. There's a little chart there. The most significant government-wide obligation that the library has is the Series 2018 Certificate of Participation, which has an outstanding balance at June 30th, 2024 of $51,060,000. And then there are other post-employment liability of $5,082,727 is their next most significant. The library did report a net pension asset of $7,452,349 compared to a net pension asset last year of $11,287,925 at the beginning of the year. So that change is about, or is $3,835,576. The change in net pension asset was partially offset by the net changes in the pension-related deferred outflows and inflows, which totaled $5,129,808. Below that in the presentation is a statement of net position for you to look at. It's kind of tiny, especially on the screen, but hopefully on your paper it's a little. The general fund had a balance decrease of $4,246,254 for the period ended June 30th, 2024. This brings it to a total fund balance at that date of $35,337,976. Of that amount, $31,452,352 is unassigned. The unassigned fund balance is approximately 46.4% of the 2024-2025 general fund expenditure budget. So that is well within the 20 to 50% requirement for that balance. Again, there's some fun little charts there. The next page is just the statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the governmental funds. I'll kind of let you just look that over. And then if you guys have any questions, I can take those. Hearing none, I do want to end tonight by just saying that Hood and Associates CPAs in association with Ralph C. Johnson and Company really appreciate the opportunity to serve the library and we look forward to continuing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not pertaining to ours, but one question.
Sure.
Do any of your clients and tell you that they have illegal acts that they're engaged in?
Very rarely do they ever tell us, but occasionally we know. So.
And we're not one of them, but yes.
We do Google searches and stuff like that to find some of that, but if something's come up, especially that made the news, they certainly would usually tell us that ahead of time so that we're not finding it on our own, because it usually goes a little better. Just one. But yeah, not frequently, no.
Any other questions? Right, committee reports,
We need to officially accept the report and the management letter, or just the report? Probably both. Just the report. So is there a motion on the
you second in a new business?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were just there.
I thought I saw one.
Yes, it's cooking.
It's in a new business.
So I just to cover, the finance committee went through just in rather a little more detail. And there was one minor change. There was a presentation change only. Did not change any of the underlying numbers in terms of the P&L. So, pardon me?
So I was supposed to mention that.
Yeah, well, but it was a presentation on the balance sheet in terms of the surplus allocated to compensated absences, just so it's comparable with the prior year's presentations. So after that, the motion from the finance committee is to approve the recommendation to the board to accept the annual comprehensive financial report and audit as presented, which includes the audit and the management letter. And there's the management letter, and then there's a required communication. Those are separate.
So the required communication is.
It is, okay, all right, okay.
Okay, did you want to move this 10.2 up to the auditor's presentation set?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
second,
because the board has to accept the report.
well, yeah, I know we do, but it's on the agenda is 10.2, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can handle it now. Is there a second?
Second.
Yes, okay.
Any discussion? Teresa, want to call the roll, please?
Trustee Gregg,
Yes.
trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Virgo,
Aye.
trustee Cook,
Yes.
trustee Lazio,
Yes.
trustee Gandolfi. Aye. Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Whitehall. Aye, the motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now for our committee reports. Came up from finance.
The finance committee met and the will be presented to the board. I think they're down in section 10 under new business. So there's really no other nothing else to report in terms of the committee.
Okay, building committee.
Yes, thank you. The building committee is going to meet on the 26th of September, 2 weeks from today, at 10 a.m. And the principal agenda for that meeting has to do with a discussion from the consultants we have regarding what to do in terms of renovation or moving, whatever the ultimate recommendations are in reference to the administrative headquarters. So we will also do a tour of this facility. So that's, again, that's 2 weeks from today at 10 in the morning.
Any questions of fundraising and development?
This is Marcy Gregg. So the fundraising committees that did not meet per se, but I have a couple of announcements I've been asked to share with you. Lit up VIP reception is tomorrow evening. And the Creative Contest Awards. That's tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 p.m. at Whitney. All the board members and families are invited to attend. There's no cost, but please do let Diana and Development know if you'll be attending the meeting, so they look forward to seeing you there. And then second, this 2024 Legacy Luncheon has been scheduled. That's Friday, October 11th, 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It's in the conference center at the Genealogy Center. Ticket purchase is required for attendance. Table sponsorships are still available. Again, please let Diana know and RSVP to her. You probably received an invitation in the mail, but you also received copies of invitations. If you'd like to share those with others too. All right.
Thank you. Any questions? Personnel? Personnel?
Personnel did not meet this month, so we have nothing to report.
And technology?
Yeah.
I just have a correction on building. It's next Thursday morning, not 2 weeks from now. So next Thursday.
Okay, Steve, will report.
Good evening. Posted on the board docs are all the financial reports that the finance committee went over and the summaries that we put together for this meeting. Briefly go over, we're in the second month of our fiscal year, so not a lot of activity, but so far year to date, we've got $750, almost $3,000 in taxes collected by the 3 counties. It's last year was about 1.2 million, so about 468,000 less. We believe this is more of a timing issue than an actual tax issue. As you can see on the chart below, year by year, it fluctuates pretty wildly, just in terms of when we receive the money versus from one year to the next. So we're nothing that we're really concerned about at this time. Just to report that out. The next is the cash flow. This is also an agenda item that we'll be talking about in a little bit. Based on where we are right now in our cash, we believe that we probably will need to dip into that line of credit or earlier than we originally anticipated, which was November. So what you can see here are the last 3 fiscal years compared to our current projection for this fiscal year. The next one, if there are any questions, is the general fund. The revenue budget for the general fund was about 1.6 million. Again, we're under that predominantly because of the taxes collected. We collected about $1 million, so we're about 64% of our budget. And then you can see on the expense side, we've spent about 7% of our budget, so we're a little under where we anticipated to be at this point in the year. Next slide is the capital project plan. Again, not a lot of activity here, just clean up invoices on the finalization of the capital plan. But the more significant projects for this year, the headquarters project that the building committee is going to be considering, and then the capital replacement plan that's really a placeholder for a cash reserve, which we're also going to talk about a little later on in this meeting. And then lastly, our health insurance. Through the first 2 months, we've collected $824,000. We've spent about $576,000. So current year to date, we have a cash surplus of $249,000. You have to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Is there any unfinished business? Okay, hearing none, we can go into a new business. First matter is the election of our bloggers employee rep. Please.
I'd like to nominate Michelle to go.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Here we
Okay, hearing none,
we need a second.
yeah,
second it. I'll second it.
any discussion? Hearing none? Please, would you call the vote for the appointment of Michelle as a rep?
Trustee Whitehall. don't really vote on that.
Yes,
It's all the same. No, it's fine. Okay. Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi. Aye. Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Step.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Burgo.
Aye.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Good.
Motion carries.
Thank you for offering.
And then, you know, I just want to add one thing. You may want to elect an alternate as well.
Anybody willing to offer themselves to serve in that position?
It's a good time.
Pardon?
Maybe the date, what's the date?
I think it's October 24th and 25th. And you don't have to have an alternate.
Anybody?
I'm sorry, this is Joyce and I'm not understanding the question.
Oh, Joyce, I was saying that we need to, if we want to, and we have to have an alternate person for the law's representative.
Okay, I'd be willing to serve again.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
third.
Okay.
We need to vote on
Oh, yeah.
that. Carry the banner.
We have a motion to appoint Joyce as the alternate lawyer's representative. Teresa, would you call the vote, please?
Trustee Wykoff. Aye. Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi. Aye. Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Step.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Trustee Burgo.
Aye.
Here.
Okay, thank you. 10.2 on the agenda was covered, and 10.3, the management will present.
The annual report. All right, so part of our job or part of our responsibility here is ways of Pitt County Public Library and trustees is to spread the good word about libraries. And you could say, in a sense, we're evangelists for the library and the work that we do. And as we all know, every evangelist needs a piece of literature to hand out. And I thought that the old dimensions of the board report was a little clunky and made that difficult. So I opted to task our marketing department with creating a pocket version. But this is a unique way of doing it. So in this, you will see some of the highlights of the work we've done over the past year, but there's also a digital version which has a lot more information in it, which can be accessed through the QR code. So Jim Staley, if you want to come up and just give us a few highlights of what's in the report.
Okay, so as Aaron said, he tasked us with creating a new version. And that version, and I'm gonna back up over here. What he really said that he wanted was to be able to tell more of a story of what happened here. We looked at a bunch of different ways to be able to create something like that. Ultimately, what we came to was the only way to really tell that story was to give it all the space that it needed in the digital version. So when you get into your little pocket version here, which includes all the information that is statutorily required, get to this QR code on the back, and you can access this digital version. Now, Teresa is going to text you all right now, I believe, a link to the digital version so you can pull it up on your own devices if you would like.
I already did, so you should have it on now.
All right. So what you'll be looking at on your device currently is the mobile version. We're showing you up here on the screen is the desktop version, but they contain all the same content. So as I said, the challenge from Aaron was to tell more of a story. So I think what we ultimately created was something that does tell the story of a dynamic library system that is serving all three counties in a myriad of ways. So you'll see some of those classic annual report kind of things, a letter from the director, from our president here. And you can see that here where you can expand those, read the items. Now, when you get down into the actual report, this is where it becomes a little bit fun. You'll see over here, as we scroll down through, you'll notice the months change. These items happen as they happen during the year. You'll also notice down here at the bottom, there's this circulation number. And as I start to scroll, it'll start to increase. Well, that's a real-time accounting of checkouts for the year. And of course, I think we maybe covered last month that this year was a record-breaking year for the library. We circulated over 10 million items for the first time in library history. And so we wanted to memorialize that, and that's what you'll see increasing as we move down through. So in terms of the news items themselves, you'll see a lot of events, awards. As you get down through here, one of my favorites is customer comments. You get to look at what other people have to say about us. Keep going down through. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but books. So, you know, throughout, you'll actually see, I think, one in each month, a book that was one of the most highly checked out in that given month. There are some featured video pieces. This one's about our summer learning program. We're not going to watch any of the video pieces tonight, but there are a lot of really good, engaging ones. Our video department did a really nice job. And so there's one about the capital plan, there's one about SLP, there's one about the Facing the Future series, and you'll find all those as you go. One of my favorite parts of this is that we asked all of our special initiative groups to contribute some original content. So this one's the Culinary Center, and what the Culinary Center, let's see if I can manage this here, I can. Okay, so what the Culinary Center contributed was their hollandaise sauce recipe from their class on the 5 mother sauces. So I haven't made this yet. I don't know. The class is really popular. Ron, I think you've been to it, right? So have you made this sauce?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. I'm sure it's good. Some other original items. This one is from the Genealogy Center, and I think it's really nice. It is a family that used our memory lab to recover some audio recordings of their grandmother. These were stuck in a format they couldn't use anymore, and so the memory lab, they used that. Now they've got it. You can actually listen to a little bit of it right here in the timeline, or you can go actually listen to the whole thing because the family shared it back with the Genealogy Center. They keep going, you'll see there's just a lot of stuff here. You can keep watching that circulation rise. There's our visitors from Mongolia. A Square One video, some of heading on down to the bottom, and there it is, our 10.2 million circulations for the year. I do think all in all, I really recommend all of you to take a little bit of time, go through it. Everybody in this room had a lot to do, all of these activities that happened throughout the year. And it really does paint a picture of a vibrant library system that is serving the needs of everyone in our counties. So, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question, but I just want to say I am highly impressed. This is really very cool.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna get a little bit lost in it tonight, I think. And
Yeah.
the holiday sauce recipe looks great. No, I love this. I'm a real visual person. I know. Yeah, a lot of other people engaging community events, today, video and visual folks too. I think this is really great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I would be remiss to say it's, the marketing team did a great job, but Brian's team also, as you can imagine, had a gigantic role. Yeah. So, thanks, Brian, to you and your folks.
And we did a good job of making sure it's mobile friendly and making sure it's friendly for everybody to be able to use. So
I can see
it
that.
turned out really nice. So
It did.
thank you.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. That's really brilliant. It's really something.
Well, get a challenge from the director and not. Yeah.
I drove a little crazy, but I really think in some cases, annual reports are printed and just sit somewhere and they're to check a box. But the intent here is to give you all the tools you need to kind of spread the word about the library. You can share the link. We'll give you a stack of these reports that you keep in your car if you like, and fit easily in the glove box. But yeah, just don't ask for a donation. or you could, but refer them to Diana. So,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah. But yeah, great work to your team and both of your teams and everybody who participated in making this possible. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that I think it's a great tool. The next time my Uber driver says, hey, gosh, the library's still relevant, I was like, here's some reading material. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a big group effort and I really loved the companion input too. I think that turned out great. So they go really well together. So, yeah.
What did you guys? Oh, yes.
I just also want to mention that by statute, we are required to make an annual statement to the two commissions and commissioners and the county executive for Jackson County. And last year I had the absolute pleasure of attending two of those. And the format of having things visual and in person, as well as very, very relevant anecdotal information from representatives of the libraries in those districts was so helpful in communicating the message that you folks in all 850 of you within the libraries have been doing for what, 750? How many employees? 850? Employees.
Oh, 700.
750 assisting 850,000. And this presentation really conveys the message so wonderfully.
Yeah, and on that note, we will be visiting Platte County first on September 30th at 1 p.m. Jeremy and I will go out there and speak with the commissioners. And if any of the trustees want to join us, I'd be happy to have you along. Last year was a very productive conversation and for this year will be too.
And it's just like the dates for Jackson and Clay, but well now.
Thank you.
Please. And in terms of using this to talk with some of our friends and supporters, you might keep a couple of copies for state legislators who, in the last week, for example, asked me, does anyone use libraries anymore? So he'll get a call from me tomorrow with his copy of this.
All right. Great.
Okay, now we have the vote to approve the annual report. I guess the motion on the floor. Do you have a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? Teresa, please.
Trustee Whitehall. Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi.
Aye.
Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Steph.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Virgo.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Thank you. Next matters are property tax rate management. So.
Jeremy.
This is the meeting where we establish the property tax levy for the upcoming year. The process starts with the three counties certifying their assessed valuation. They then provide that to us. We got our last certified value from, I think it was Clay County on September 11th. And so we go through a process with the state auditor's office. We have a copy of the document posted to board docs. Their pro forma, it's the math calculation to satisfy the requirements of the Hancock. And so what they do is they take last year's revenue and essentially divide it by the modified assessed valuation for this year, which is essentially the assessed valuation lessening your construction or any changes in value or changes in property class, excuse me. And so they do that to arrive at the levy necessary to meet the Hancock requirement. And so through the pro forma document, you'll see that the amount this year was 0.3152. If you want to what you pay is, there we go. I've got these charts, so hopefully be a little helpful, help explain this a little better. So the column on the far left is the actual certified value by county for 2023. The column in the middle is what we use to project our budget. And then the certified value for this year is what we're discussing tonight. So that's the total of the 3 counties that was certified back to us. So you can see that we had projected a modest increase from the prior year of 21.6 billion to 21.75 billion. And the final assessed valuation was actually 21.65 billion, about 0.047% different than what we had anticipated. So if you go to the next slide. What that means in terms of the levy. So the budget that we had put together with an assessed valuation of 21.75 billion had a mill levy or a levy of 3,116. The certified value for a fully restored levy in accordance with the Hancock Amendment on an assessed valuation of 21.65 billion is 3,152. So we took this information to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee reviewed this and then ultimately voted to recommend the 3,152. So we have that resolution prepared for you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Questions?
We have the resolution on the board then, please.
There's a lot more investigations.
Gosh, I got 2.
Thanks. The actual resolution. Well, two. Oh, there
Oh,
you go.
okay,
Right there.
got it, thanks, sorry about that.
We'll have enough.
Good.
So, for those of us who don't have, good. Farsighted vision, if you could just give us an overview of what the resolution says, yeah.
Sure, there's quite a bit of background information in the whereas clauses. It just kind of goes through and says we had a public hearing on June 4th. The budget was adopted by the board on June 16th. We talked about a little bit of background about 34, or the branches being 34 now, 33 now, 34 branches up and running. With the approved budget focused on, we had a couple items there. We went on to say, talked about how the board approved the resolution to justify the intention to restore the levy to the tax ceiling rate with the Hancock adjustment. And then we had a couple paragraphs that kind of talked about the different counties and what the tax rate came out of the state at the 0.3152. And then it has another last whereas paragraph is the Finance and Audit Committee adopted a recommendation to push the 3152 to the board level. And the bottom of section 1 is the actual legislative language that the board, if you choose to adopt it, that's the levy would be 0.3152.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the resolution on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll make the second.
Second, any further discussion? Any discussion? Okay, Teresa, please call the vote.
Trustee Wykoff. Aye. Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi.
Aye.
Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Step.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
I'm going to vote no because I voted no on the budget and I think I need to stay consistent for that reason.
Trustee Virgo.
Aye.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Gregg.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next matter is 10.5, the line of credits.
Jeremy, do you have?
Yeah. There it is. So, much like last year, the library will need to borrow money to make our operation obligations from essentially now until we get our first real tax disbursement in December. The terms are very similar to what they were last year. They've given us two options. One is a fixed rate at 6.25. The other is a calculation of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines rate for a 4-month fixed rate, which is currently 6.11 with a 129 basis point fee, if you will. I'm sorry, that rate plus the 129 is 6.11. So it's slightly better than the fixed rate. Obviously, we'll look at the rates and establish which one is better for the library. But we need your approval to enter into that line of credit so that we can make sure that we meet all of our obligations.
So are these terms that they had presented?
Yes.
Because so Tuesday you didn't have these.
Correct.
Okay. I noticed that the reading that the origination fee is 2,500.
Yeah.
That was 4,000 last year.
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
And is the second interest rate option, you can lock that in at the point you draw the money, or you have to do that at the point you sign the paper?
They want us to make a decision on either the fixed rate or that option on the day we sign the paper. But I mean, it's lower than the
It
fixed
looks
rate.
rather
so,
immaterial.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, what's the dollar difference if you
I didn't run the numbers.
borrow 8 million for 2 months against, what is it, 10, 12 basis points?
Yeah, it's very nominal.
So anyway, the finance committee just recommended that we give management authority to execute this in terms substantially the same as that is as existed last year, and that's what this is. So that would be the motion on the floor, is to give management not to approve these particular terms, but to give them the authority to enter into that agreement.
Good motion.
Is there a motion up for the
Yeah,
state?
there's a motion. One more.
Right, up to for an $8 million line of credit.
Looking for a second?
Yes.
Second.
Just a question, are we? Let's add it onto that, and they were further authorizing the management to enter into the contract for that line of credit.
Right. You know,
I'm sorry. Are we adding something to the motion?
Yeah, I think we should also have express authorization for the management of the library to enter into the contract for that line of credit. Because right now, there's nobody to do it.
Or to state the position. You want to officially state the position, the executive director?
I'm sorry,
You want to state executive director rather than a general
Sure,
management.
good point, yeah. With executive management.
read it again.
Express authorization for executive management to,
To enter into the line of credit agreement.
motion to approve short-term borrowing from Central Bank for an amount up to $8 million. The interest and fees will be paid from the operating fund. Express authorization for executive management to enter into the line of credit.
Agreed.
I think we can delete, let's delete the word express, that's fine. Okay, we have a motion from the finance committee as approved, is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, as amended. Any further discussion?
So my question maybe to Gordon is, so how many years will this continue, the firewall?
Well, I
Comment?
guess that I don't have the answer to that. If you.
Make any projections?
I don't have a projection, because I don't have any data, when we do that. So the answer, if you want my opinion versus what, Jeremy may have to do. I don't see a problem borrowing money for 2 months, okay? The difference is the library can take in taxes from the taxpayer, okay? Alternatively, we can borrow money for 2 months and pay nominal interest. The bank doesn't mind. And really your cost is, it looks like this, but if, to me, it's a nominal cost for the benefit of the taxpayers. That's my opinion, okay? I would keep doing this instead of drawing excess funds through the levy.
Your expert opinion.
Any questions? Teresa, would you please call?
Trustee Gray. Aye. Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Virgo. Aye. Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Step.
Aye.
Trustee Lazio.
Yes.
Trustee Pandolfi. Aye. Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
And Trustee Wykoff. And I should say motion carried.
Thank you. Item 10.6, to transfer funds from the general fund to the capital fund.
I mean, take that. Okay. At the committee, we added this to the agenda. If just a bit of history for those that are new, or those that aren't new, you know this. It was common practice previous to 2 years ago to take the excess from the general fund and transfer it into the capital fund. Also, historically, there was not an allocation in the approved budget, and not until I think it was 2018, in conjunction with the Probel capital plan, was there an initial allocation into the capital budget from the revenues, because you had that additional levy component come in. So I guess as I look at it, it says we're taking care of our physical asset, one of our key assets of the organization, on the backside, on the assumption that we'll have excess funds. I think it's, as we started last year, the 23-24 budget, there was an initial small allocation of $350,000. The current year budget has a $1 million allocation going into the capital fund. And if you don't have your budget book, but if you did, would look on page 35, 6, 7, and you would see where the projected expenses, now that we have what I guess I'll call a maintenance plan for the physical assets, and I'm just going to round the numbers and say it's, averages somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million for the first 6 years, and then it bumps up to $3 million plus and gets a little higher. But over the next, I think this is what I didn't count the columns. Total 29 million over the lease and the capital plan. So the current excess in the audit report, go to page 44 and 43 and 44 of the current audit report. You'll see a comparison of the final budget to what the actual results were. If you look at the preliminary numbers that Jeremy put up in July, the excess was right under $4 million. The number you see on page 44 of the audit report, the excess revenues over expenditures, is 5.1 million, but that includes 998,000 of investment income. So rounding that without the investment income gets you down to 4.1 million of excess. The intent of what is being proposed, which is a $4 million transfer from the general fund to the capital fund, is to get ahead of the curve on these obligations, okay? Because you're looking 2 years out and you're building, but there's no guarantee that you're going to have those revenues available, okay? So, as I said, the finance committee, I'm a believer that when it rains, you put out buckets. And if you were anywhere near a farm when you grew up, you knew that farmers ran their operation thinking that on the basis that every 3 years, maybe 4 years, you're not going to have a bad crop. So same sort of thinking here. We have funds available. It's within our surplus policy. After we get done, it gets a jump start on it. The yield curve is changing. You could stay short, but we have a fair amount of maturities rolling off. And I would continue to use the investment income from the capital fund to build this fund as well. But, really to get a jump start on the 3 million, because when you do a present value, even if you look at the 3 years past 26, present value, you're looking at $6 million that you need on that. And again, you can either pre-fund it and hopefully have some flexibility when you get to those budget years, and not have, or when you get to those budget years, you're going to have to make some hard decisions about how you allocate the revenues, because physical assets need to be maintained. So the motion that came out of finance is, out of that 5.1, is to transfer $4 million into the capital fund. This again doesn't necessarily move any cash around. It's because you have you still have a receivable and a payable between the capital fund because of the duration lock that the capital fund was put in. So this is largely a bookkeeping entry, but it does send a very clear message of intent about maintaining the fiscal asset. And I would hope the board would not elect to move those assets. The finance committee did not put any restrictions on it. But I would hope that you don't, as a board, decide to spend it elsewhere just because it's available. Does that make sense?
Questions?
This is Noel. Why can you not make the motion with restrictions? I think restrictions are a good idea.
Well, I'm not going to play the legal guy. I think the board could put some constraints on it, but I think the board could legally remove those constraints at some point down the road. So I think it's up to, everybody understands. I can give you the history for the 2 years that went through 2 years ago, and just the difficulty of getting numbers, the fact that the numbers were inaccurate, the fact that what was presented to the board did not show the true picture of the actual spending. And I know we're in a different situation now. I don't think we'll have those. I don't think those issues will repeat. But I think it's just we have to rely on management to be prudent and make the right decisions for in the best interest of the taxpayer and the library and the staff and those fiscal assets. And given what's happened in the last 2 years, I really don't have a problem doing that. I think management has demonstrated its ability to manage the assets, the revenues, the expenses, and I don't want to tie their hands. That's my personal opinion.
So that's
Thank you.
So that's the benefit of having it not restricted.
Well, let me give you an example of what could happen. Okay, you're going to a headquarters review, and that number is not going to be small. So you could say, well, let's just defer the 27 expenses into 28, and take that $3 million and spend it on headquarters. Or take the 4 million and the 3 million that's out there. So you're gonna spend 7 headquarters. I don't know if you can accomplish anything with that. Or not, you're gonna accomplish what you need to do long term. But that's something that could happen, and it puts you right back in the same boat you were in. And 15 years ago, when there was no allocation of the revenues coming in or the assets, so you ended up with the levy increase in 2016. Because your only option was to, or at least the only option the board saw was to increase the levy and to take in more revenue to redo the physical structure. Physical plant, I guess I'll call it. In the 2017 plan, there were some items that were budgeted, that were contemplated. And if you recall from the October 2022 meeting, there was a schedule presented by the building committee at the time that showed $13 million of expenses over the next 5 years. I went back on that, about half of that, 6.5 million, were projects that were in the 2017 plan. So funds got redirected to other things that were not originally contemplated, or maybe they were, and the costs were. In fact, I didn't go back. I won't go back and revisit that. But the reality is, those things, if you would go back and rewind the clock and you say we should reserve for that, you would have reserved $6 million for that. And when you got to the point, you would have had those funds available. So kind of along the same lines here, you have the funds available, okay? And let's put them aside for the purpose of maintaining the physical plant. And just a reminder, you've spent, the library has spent $132 million.
Any other questions?
Just one comment. The check is here on spending, right? So if it's decided that those funds are needed, whether it's balance transfer or to expend those funds for whatever purpose, it will come before the board. If we've presented our budget to you and there's a budgeted amount for this year, which we will not exceed, barring some unfortunate incident. And so that's your assurance that the money isn't, put somewhere without your knowledge, So I think it's a sound decision, and staff supports it, so we're happy with the resolution as written.
And also, this is a very frequent experience that families have. If it's anticipated that a child might consider college or vocational training after high school, it's coming up. If you have funds, you start putting the funds aside instead of waiting until all of a sudden you get this huge bill from the university's business office. Now, so you start putting money aside, there's no way in this world it's a constraint on that family, but the family uses discipline and a certain degree of responsibility. So we have the funds, let's put them aside. We have a worthwhile project. However, if something should arise, an extraordinary event, need a new roof that's not insured or something like that, the funds are still there. But absent something significant like that, it's going to be earmarked for the kids' college. The same thing here, keeping the capital fund. As Gord mentioned, and it's very clearly set out in the financial statements, there are going to be some very substantial dollar amounts that will be faced short. If we have the funds now, why transfer that responsibility to a future board and a future budget making process and all that, when we can address this now very easily, and especially without in any way interfering or minimizing or even interfering the least bit with the programs and the offerings of the library here this year. So I think the finance committee, this is a very worthwhile and admirable recommendation. So anybody else? Please,
Just briefly, obviously, there are 12 board members here, and I think all of us have some degree of communication from constituents by county now. So if something's happening and if there's a roof issue or whatever it is, one of the board members will know because somebody's going to call them from the respective counties. And yeah, then you bring it to this body that has checks on things mentioned by CEO. So it's going to come to us. There's something that needs to happen all of a sudden, an emergency.
Any questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion from the Finance Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Teresa, please.
Trustee Gray,
Aye.
trustee Johnson,
Aye.
trustee Virgo,
Aye.
trustee Cook.
Aye.
Trustee Step,
Aye.
trustee Lazio,
Yes.
trustee Pandolfi. Aye. Trustee Davis,
Yes.
trustee Whitehall. Yes, motion carried.
Our director's report.
All right, as always, we have a lovely, monthly review to read, very interesting, image. I guess we're looking at peaches here.
Lovely peaches.
Yeah, lovely peaches, who I will not be forming a friendship with, but nonetheless. Anyway, there's a lot in here, which you're free to read at your leisure. I do want to make a specific mention to the exhibit at the Grandview branch. It's a result of a partnership between the library and the American Jazz Museum. That display will be up through September and it's worth seeing, very interesting. On a side note, I had the pleasure of visiting Green Lady Lounge in downtown Kansas City, which was a first for me. If you haven't been there, it's truly an enjoyable experience. So Kansas City is all about jazz, and I'm happy that we could host that exhibit. I want to shift over to the employee highlights. We have two people that we need to recognize today, actually four, but I'll begin with Mary Shackelford. She's a programming associate at the North Oak branch, and her unwavering dedication to providing exceptional customer service, coupled with her genuine kindness and empathy, has made a profound and lasting impact on countless community members' lives. Her contributions to the library are truly immeasurable. And those are the words of Sherry Bridges, the wonderful branch manager at North Oak. And so we congratulate Mary on her 25 years of service. Thank you, Mary. And next is Vicki Hale, who's also been with the library for 25 years. She's working out in Edgerton. Tiara Dixon, who we've all met, says that she's worked with Vicki for a number of years, and she's seen firsthand how Vicki is always an early adopter of change and the go-to person on her team, helping customers and coworkers navigate new technology. She's been a true cornerstone of our team and known for her exceptional expertise, commitment, and reliability. So congratulations, Vicki. We do appreciate your service. It's always nice to hear that people are changing with the times. We have two other recognitions. One is for Jeremy Wilmette, who on September 5th celebrated his 1-year anniversary in Mid-Continent Public Library. In his short time here, he's had a noticeable impact on our operations. So we're thankful that Jeremy joins Mid-Continent Public Library, and congratulations on your 1-year anniversary. And the second acknowledgement is for our Deputy Director, Susan Ray, who's been with the library for 15 years. And she has been instrumental in kind of shepherding me through this transition process. She's a librarian's librarian and kind of a steady influence on staff. And she's had a great impact on the work of the facilities department, our collection management, and we're very grateful for her service. I wish she could be with us today, but she can't. So Susan, if you're watching, thank you. And those are my acknowledgements. Teresa, did I miss anything?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
my birthday is September the 5th too.
So we have another acknowledgement. John.
I got about that 3 minutes.
Mine was in August.
Break stage and.
That's mine in July.
Yeah.
It is. Birthday Monday.
Oh, it's.
Happy
All right, very good. Well, I guess you were brought to this world, Jennifer. All right, so
Getting older.
There we are.
what are we next? We have acknowledgements or announcements, right? So as trustee Greg said, we have the lit up VIP reception at Woodneath tomorrow. Looking forward to that. We also have the lit up fest at Woodneath Library, and that's on Saturday at 8:30, begins at 8:30 a.m. And just refresher, it's a wonderful event where teens from all over the region come and share literature that they've written and a wonderful anthology, which I just received before this meeting. They also get to hear from world-class authors and learn about the craft. On September 24th is Facing the Future with Audrey Tang. That's a virtual event, which we will send the link to all the trustees so we can join us if they like. September 25th through 27th is our Missouri Library Association Conference, which is here in Kansas City. And October 2nd is our final event of the Facing the Future series, and that's Kyle Jacob. More about that in the coming weeks. And then we have the Legacy Luncheon on October 11th, Midwest Genealogy Center. And we hope you all come. So that concludes announcements.
Okay, thank you. Trustees' comments?
Jim, just a quick one. I just wanted to comment that 2 weeks ago, so not this past Monday, but the Monday before, the Reading Rocket debuted its new site, having to relocate from Glenwell Cafe, pardon me. And they launched new space at the Delaware Coffee House on Independence Square. And I just wanted to share with you that our families are thrilled. On that particular day, the driver of the rocket was ill and couldn't bring the rocket, but the kids were just as thrilled regardless. They have a really great space. It's actually very accessible. It's still in the residential sort of area or close to it that it was before, so that those families who were participating before have a place to come back to. And we have a really good opportunity to grow in an area that has a lot of families who don't have vehicle access. They're in walking distance to the square. They're also on a bus line to the square. And the word is spreading very quickly through the neighborhoods that there's a new opportunity there. So I did see that the rocket showed up Monday and I couldn't be there to see it, but I've seen pictures and our neighborhoods are very excited. So just wanted to share that that was a good relocation. I was able to help the Square Association make connections with our folks and they took it from there and found the perfect spot. So really excited about that.
It's good to hear.
Any other comments? I'd just like to recognize, again, Mark and everybody at the Story Center, what they're doing for aspiring writers. Since we last met, there were 2, I believe, and possibly other presentations, which were absolutely at the core of need to know information for young writers or new writers. And they just do a magnificent job. And it's so easily accessible, especially from the work that Brian and other folks do with their internet magic stuff. So any other comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.